You know, when you look at your phone or your computer, you see this sleek, simple piece of glass and metal. But inside, there is an entire hidden universe of unbelievable complexity. Today, we're going to peel back the layers and explore that universe, revealing the absolute engineering marvels that power our digital world. So here's our journey. We'll start with the universe you're holding in your hand. Then, we'll dive into the city within, the printed circuit boards. After that, we'll get into the brains of the operation, the GPUs, and talk about data, speed, and how we can even see this nanoscopic world. And finally, we'll step back and just appreciate the miracle of it all. Okay, let's start with that device you're probably holding right now, or one that's sitting right next to you. It feels so simple, right? So seamless. But that smooth exterior, well, it hides an engineering reality that is straight out of science fiction. You just think about it for a second. You've got the screen, the battery, the camera, all those chips. Everything needs to be connected. So how much wiring could that possibly take? A few feet? Maybe 10 feet tops? Get this. The answer is 110 meters. No, that is not a typo. There is the entire length of a football field's worth of wiring coiled up inside your phone. How in the world is that even possible? Well, the secret starts with the very foundation of all modern electronics. The only way you can pack all of that wiring into such a tiny space is because of something called the printed circuit board, or PCB. It's the true, unsung hero of every device you own. Now, a PCB isn't just some flat green board. The best way to think about it is like a high-tech, multi-story building. It's the physical structure where all the chips and components live, but way more importantly, it contains this incredibly complex labyrinth of copper hallways that lets them all talk to each other. And we're not talking about a two-story building here. A modern smartphone PCB is like a skyscraper with 10 or more layers. You've got the top and bottom floors for mounting the big components, but sandwiched in between, you have entire floors dedicated just to power and grounding. The middle layers are like a massive highway interchange for all the communication wires. And to connect all these floors, they use tiny, metal-plated elevators called vias. It's a true microscopic metropolis. All right, so our city has its infrastructure, its roads, and its buildings. Now it needs a powerful brain. And in modern computing, especially for the heavy lifting like gaming and AI, that brain is the graphics processing unit, the GPU. To really get the difference between a CPU and a GPU, I love this analogy. A CPU is like a jumbo jet. It's ridiculously fast and flexible, perfect for getting a few complex jobs done really, really quickly. A GPU, on the other hand, that's a massive cargo ship. It might not be as fast, but it can move an unbelievable amount of simple, repetitive stuff all at once, using thousands of cores all working in parallel. And the power of that cargo ship approach is just immense. A modern graphics card can perform 36 trillion calculations every single second. To put that into perspective, if every single person on Earth did one calculation per second, you would need the population of 4,400 Earths to match the power of just one high-end GPU. The scale is just mind-blowing. Okay, so all that computational power is completely useless if it's starving for data. And this brings us to one of the most fundamental trade-offs in computer design, this constant battle between speed and scale when it comes to memory. You know that loading screen you stare at when you start a game or a big application? Ever wonder what's actually happening? Your computer is basically playing the part of a moving company. It's hauling massive files from its long-term storage, think of it as a giant warehouse, into its super-fast working memory, which is like the small workshop where all the action happens. So here's the trade-off. Your DRAM, your working memory, is a supersonic jet. It can access data in just 17 nanoseconds. Your SSD, that big storage warehouse, is more like a tortoise. It takes 50 microseconds, which is 3,000 times slower. So why even have the tortoise? Well, because the jet has a tiny cargo hold, measured in gigabytes, while the tortoise can haul massive terabytes of data. You absolutely need both to have a working system. So we've talked about this incredible complexity on a scale that's almost impossible to wrap your head around, which of course raises a pretty fundamental question. How do we even build these things? I mean, this is the core challenge. The components inside your chips, the tiny transistors, are now smaller than a strand of DNA. You literally can't see them with a normal light microscope because they are smaller than the very waves of light you'd need to view them with. It's a physical impossibility. So what was the solution? Well, engineers decided to stop using light altogether. Instead, they turned to this absolutely revolutionary tool, the electron microscope, which uses a beam of electrons as its light source to see the world. And here's why that works. When you accelerate electrons to near the speed of light, their wavelength becomes 200,000 times smaller than visible light. This lets an electron microscope see details down to 50 picometers. That's small enough to capture clear images of individual atoms. It just shatters the physical limits of light and opens up the entire world of nanoengineering. Okay, let's just zoom all the way back out and take a moment to appreciate the sheer engineering miracle we've just walked through. Because it's way too easy to take these devices for granted. When you hold your phone, what you're really holding is a symphony of innovation. You've got a microscopic city with over 100 meters of wiring, a brain capable of 36 trillion thoughts a second, a memory system that perfectly balances the speed of a jet with the capacity of a cargo ship. And all of it is built using tools that let us see and manipulate the very atoms of our universe. And this isn't magic. As the team at Branch Education puts it so well, these innovations are the result of decades of massive, collective human effort, the product of hundreds of thousands of brilliant minds pushing the boundaries of what is even possible. The device in your pocket would have been completely indistinguishable from magic just a few decades ago. It was pure science fiction. Which really makes you wonder, looking at the incredible foundation that we've already built, what kind of science fiction are we going to make our reality next?